unmute this so we have a little less. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm just going to make sure that we have good audio chat. I'm going to unmute you. How are we doing? We good? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Tim.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, I just want to thank, if you guys can't hear me, just unmute yourself, press ** to unmute. This is going to be an open call tonight. One of the reasons I elected to do this is because we get often thrown into the sovereign citizen movement. And, you know, that's just kind of an ugly name these days, you know, and unfortunately, there are a lot of folks that are guessing, maybe with good intentions, maybe with bad intentions, I don't know, but they're also on a path of what they call truth. And what typically happens is that they have court in their living rooms, and they decide that, you know, okay, this is how it's going to be. You know, if we got 10 people on the call and we've all stayed up till midnight waiting for some little nugget of truth, but we're not getting that, but we're going to give you this, you'll just accept it. And can I tell you guys, everyone, and anybody, folks that are listening after this, you know, these are signs of a false prophet, okay? When you have a guy with a great story, and we're going to talk about somebody with a great story tonight. We're going to talk about David Straight tonight. And when you talk about somebody that can influence people, but he's doing it by means of fraud, we have a problem. Because now you have a whole group of people that had half a chance of standing up and telling the truth, and now they're being labeled. Why? Because they don't know what they're doing. It's because they're out there and they believe that because they've contracted themselves that they have no responsibility. And, you know, there's a lot of folks out there. I want to make sure we're good. There's a lot of folks out there that are teaching these processes, and they really have no business teaching anything. They need to be in the learning seat. And quite honestly, that's where most of them really are. They're in the learning seat. They're in this early process, but they're excited. Okay? It's exciting when you learn something new, even when you're old like me. It's very exciting. And in 2016, I woke up. But one of the things that I did that I don't hear too many people say, and when they woke up, is that they were kind of on their own. And I'm going to tell you, for probably the first 9 months of my journey, I was on my own. It was me and a friend of mine. And we were so, gosh, man, this dude would never leave my house. My wife was like, look, Dominic has to go home, you know? and I mean, and it was so much truth that it was overwhelming him. And lots of things were going on at his house, and he actually ended up sleeping on my couch for a week. So, and he was, you know, the best house guest ever. But nevertheless, that's what this truth will do. You know, my wife wasn't on board, and, you know, she would tell me, you know, would you just shut up about that? Can we just have dinner and just shut up about that stuff? Well, you can't help it because it's everywhere. And you know that the joke has been on you the whole time. All right, so now I have your attention. So these are the teachers that are out there that are giving that tickle to the tongue. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about real truth and consequence here. When somebody says that they've had people removed from, I don't know, I think tonight's topic is David Straight. And I recently heard him state that he had some people removed from the Indiana Supreme Court or something through some sort of superpower process that only he could explain completely, because he certainly didn't on his video. That's another telltale sign when you know something's wrong. Okay, if they can't tell you the whole thing, then they don't know it. You know, we're going to talk about, there's been a lot of other teachers in the past that will go out there and they'll say a lot of things, but they don't really know because they haven't done it. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about last week was when Kayla was on the show. Kayla was on the call with us, and she gave you kind of a what's up and what happened. And, you know, this woman lost everything. I mean, everything. She lost her kids, and the state ignored the rules and just decided to remove. So there's a certain amount of time that has to go by before a court can remove or can terminate a parent's rights. And there are certain protocols that has to be followed via the state. And when they don't follow those protocols, welcome to the call. When they don't follow those protocols, they're breaking the law. Well, who's going to hold them responsible? Well, you know, who told her to do all this stuff? Well, what did she do exactly? Well, she did a lot of grandstanding, okay? David Straight likes to put his underwear on his head and walk around a conference room. I've seen him on YouTube. And he likes to walk around a conference room. And we started watching his stuff, too. I'm not going to tell you, I wasn't hooked, too, for like 30 minutes. I was. He was saying the right stuff. But as I told you guys about David Straight, one of the things I didn't feel comfortable with was all the grandstanding he was doing. What does that mean? Grandstanding means that you're going in and you're breaking commerce, okay, in the courtroom. That's what kind of grandstanding I'm talking about. And when you start breaking or disturbing commerce in the courtroom, you're not disturbing it just for your case. You're disturbing it for everybody that hears it. And that's huge. That's huge, huge, huge. So I'm going to turn my volume down because I think it's a little echoey, and hopefully this will help. I do apologize. You know, he talks and he empowers people, okay? And he's doing it, but he's doing it by fraud. One of the things that I said very clearly was is that you can't walk into a courtroom and say all that stuff. And I bet you, I can tell you there's 4 heads for sure that are nodding their heads right now going, yep, he's right about that. You can't walk in there and say any of that magic spell stuff because that's what it is. And it might have worked 20 years ago in a small farm town with a bunch of, you know, small town people, not to be, you know, I don't want to be partial to them, or impartial to them, but, you know, just that kind of community culture, you know, that's, you don't do that. You're not going to. And we need to understand that a culture, even if it's wrong, you will receive some kickback. If you don't believe me, look at Donald Trump's presidency. He really just pushed it too hard. At least what he was presenting to the public. Let's say that, okay? We know what he was doing in the background. Who the heck knows? You know what I mean? I don't know. We don't know what we do when we're, you know, anyway. But what I'm saying is that, you know, these are things that have changed, and our government and our banks have changed. Do you know that since I started teaching debt foreclosure? That's right. When you foreclose on your lender, when you foreclose on the debt and say, no, this debt is no good, and here's why, legally, so everybody's clear on that. And then you use the right amount of time, and everything cures and things like that. And there is a method that we use, and it's by one of the methods you can use to settle a debt is by using a conditional acceptance. And that's one of the processes I teach. And now, when you see a new car loan that comes down, on the payment coupon, it says all conditional acceptance payments need to be sent to this address. What does that tell you? It tells you that these people, these banks aren't stupid, okay? And you know what? We're the ones that don't know. That's real. They're the ones that have coveted all this knowledge, and they've kept it from us, and we don't know it. We don't know how to call the Federal Reserve. Anybody know how to call the Federal Reserve today? Anybody? And like call Johnny down there, tell me we need more toilet paper in the men's bathroom? Anybody know how to do that? How about the 1-800 I'm pissed off number? Anybody know that number? How about the customer service number? But you know what? Your bank does. Your bank knows every one of those numbers. And they know him so good, baby, they're on speed dial. That's how well they know him. And I'm being serious. So knowledge is something that's coveted. Okay? In the 1950s, you could watch, well, I wasn't alive in the 1950s, but in the 1950s, when I would watch, no, I'm sorry, in the 1980s and 70s, when I would watch Happy Days, which was portrayed in the 1950s, you would see people fixing their TVs at home. The only time you went to a TV repair shop is if you were a widow or if you needed to buy parts. Everybody did that stuff at home. If you needed to put a plug in your house, you know who you called? Your husband. And he was supposed to know how to do this stuff. But see, knowledge is something that's being coveted these days. Even learning to write these days is being coveted. Okay? And so when you have a teacher that comes out of the woodwork and he starts singing Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, and he starts telling you that there's 365 days in a week and you need to honor these Christian holidays, allegedly to be Easter, you know what? That's time to turn it off. That tells you that that man is serving some other God. And if we just can't be that people. And so I decided that we're going to call these people out. Anna Von Wright, she's on the list. Okay? Kurt, there's a bunch, not Kurt, not my buddy Kurt, but I'm not going to throw any more names out there for right now, but there's a ton of names out there. Okay? There are people that are teachers that have actually done this deal properly and left. We won't be talking about them because you know what? They deserve their privacy. They're gone. But we are going to talk about these people that are running around and they're spreading bad information. And as a result, people's lives are being destroyed. Last week we heard Kayla Fitz talk about she lost 3 children. 3 of her children, 3 little children. And she's a young lady. She's in her 30s. Actually, I think she's younger than that. I think she's like in her late 20s. And she's just a sweet, sweet gal. But you know what? Somebody told her that she could do a bunch of grandstanding. Somebody told her that she could walk in and talk SHIT to people on paper and disrupt commerce because that moron is running around on YouTube beating on his chest with his underwear on his head, looking out of one hole of reality. Really. To give you information to tell you how to live. I'm going to tell you, I started this process, and there's only one entity, or one person, if you want to call him, or he's not even a person. But you know, it's getting my relationship closer to Yah. When you do that and you show him obedience, he'll give you the desires of your heart. And these people in these courtrooms, they hurt me. I'm just going to say it. They took my kids from me for just economic reasons. No real reasons. No drug abuse, didn't beat anybody, nothing like that. Was I a perfect dad? Nobody is. Those kids don't come with books. No, and they don't. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad happened, but you know what I mean? If you're, out to be father of the year, I don't know anybody that is. And you know what? I had to learn. I had to have closure how they did that to me. How they made that system weaponized. How did they weaponize that against me? How did Peter Seska in San Antonio do that to me? How did he do it? It took me 15 years to figure it out. Halfway out on my own. It took me 10 years to halfway figure it out on my own. In the last 7 years, I mastered it. To the point where we've had some pretty big circumstances that have happened in my life, and you guys know about that. But anyway, this guy doesn't have that kind of clout. So when you're talking to somebody that says he's removed people from the Supreme Court, from some state Supreme Court, you know what? You should be able to Google their name, and it's all over the place. Because here's the deal, guys. I'm suing Houston County, Texas. That's right, for $13.8 million. I'm not beating on my chest, but it's public record, and you can look it up. You can Google Timothy Damron, and you will see it. If you want to see if Timothy Damron has ever written anything and ever been to the United States Supreme Court, guess what? If you Google my name, you will see an appeal that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And it took a year. It took a long time. I'd say 9 months to a year almost. I don't remember. It was pretty dramatic, but I don't remember. But it was a long time. And I was just 20 years old because I believed in this system. I was taught to believe in this system. And after that, that's when my birth started. That's when I started looking over the fence. Okay? But when I started looking for information, I made sure if somebody gave me 5 pounds, $5, 5 fingers, 5 of anything, if they're going to give me 5 of anything, I'm going to make sure I'm going to get 5, not 4.5 and an excuse, not 3 and an explanation, not. So what do you know about Uniform Commercial Code? Well, I don't know much, but I know it's based on the Vatican. That's it. That's good enough for me. You know? Really? That doesn't answer any questions. It doesn't do anything. But you know what? That's what these gurus will say to you. And how do I know this? Because their fruitcakes call me up and tell me the same nonsense. It's true. We've been doing it for the last 6 years now. And so from now on, we're going to open up this call to the public, which used to be closed to members only, but it's going to be open to the public so that, honestly, you guys that are victimized and you're hurt by these people, today it's David Straight, okay? Come on the call. Learn something. So at least you'll know what to expect if you hear something come over the radio waves. He's on YouTube. People are talking about him. People are talking a lot of SHIT in the courts too. And that man has already had 1 meeting raided by the FBI. This I do know. So here's the thing, man. They're going to watch that guy. And they're going to do whatever they're going to do. Okay? But, I'm going to open up the call. I know that some of you guys have had some experiences with him. And, just because we want to, these people that get bad information, it's important that you share this stuff because these people that get bad information don't deserve what they get. I'm going to tell you, Kayla, I've listened to her for the last 6 months, call me on the phone and just cry and lose her mind. And all I could do is say, honey, all I can do is pray for you. And I would pray with her and I would share scripture with her and I would just talk her through her own insanity for 6 months. They did all kinds of things to her. She didn't even have a chance to get a bond. Okay? And I'm just telling you, when you do this kind of grandstanding, these counties take it real personal and they will come after you. They will absolutely come after you. And do you think they're going to obey the rules in this day and age? Absolutely not. Those of you guys researching the Houston County, Texas case, you're going to know they didn't obey any of the rules. And they don't care. But it's not about me tonight. Tonight's about David Straight. So if you guys have any information, something you want to add to tonight's call for the benefit of others, we're going to be sharing the audio on the UPC or UPC channel, United Parents Coalition. We're going to be sharing that on there so that people know. I'm going to be sharing it on my main page as well. I invite you guys, if you see it on my page, to also share it because these people need to be called out, and we need to be called out why. And I'm telling you, it's not his information that's bad. It's the time and place and the vehicle that he's using. When a man tells you, and I'm just going to keep talking until somebody presses the unmute button, but I definitely would love to hear y'all's input on this. I know, Chad, you've had some dealings with him. It'd be nice to hear from you on this. But, when somebody tells you that, people are just going to go to sleep when you walk in a courtroom, they're lying to you. I'm going to tell you from personal experience and thousands of court hours and thousands of documents that I've prepared and witnessed over the years, everything's already decided the day of the court date. There is not one thing up in the air on the date of a court date except for perform, and we need to do it in 4 minutes, or we need to do it in 20 minutes. Okay? We need to understand that. So when you tell people that you're not at peace, or that you are at peace, but then you go in and talk all that SHIT, and you disrupt, and you bring cameras in there, and you do things like that, that puts you in a whole nother market, and that's not us. That's not me. Definitely not me. We want to do things the right way. We do things by presentment, acceptance, and rebuttal. And that is the biblical way to do things, and that's the way I teach to do things, and it's been very successful. My debt class has been wonderful, not just for my students, but I can tell you, me personally, I have benefited greatly from it. But anyway, anybody got any questions, comments, anything like that you want to throw in? Just press star to unmute. Happy to do it. Welcome, everybody, by the way. Fran, welcome. Go ahead.
You want me to go, Tim?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, brother, please. What is
Okay,
your experience with him?
I could probably talk a long time. I met David. We were actually friends on Facebook, but I personally met David. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Timothy Charles Holmseth, but he has a big following, or at least did. He was in some trouble up in my neck of the woods, and I was actually the first guy to go to court and to just kind of see what was going on. There was a lot of talk about his case. Goes back to like Epstein and all that. But then David Straight and Kirk Pendergrass got involved, and I was the guy that went and met them when they came to Minnesota. They put on a conference here, and kind of the first time my BS meter went off with David was at the conference, which was fairly early in me getting to know him, personally. We were taking a break during the conference, and he was talking about being a Navy SEAL. And now with his age and everything, I knew roughly when he would have been in, the SEALs. And I asked him if he ever knew a guy named Richard Marcinko or heard of him. And he was like, well, I think I heard of him. But now Richard Marcinko is the guy that started SEAL Team 6. And back in those days, I mean, there was like very few SEALs. It's not like today. And everybody knew Richard Marcinko. And so right there, I was kind of like, okay, he should really know who that is. Things just kind of progressed. I just started seeing a lot of little things that didn't add up. I ended up having a big fallout with the whole group. There was basically four of us, me, David Straight, Kirk Pendergrass, and Timothy were kind of the what they call the team.
So this is ground floor. You guys were early ground floor with this guy then.
Yeah, Tim's family actually made up 4 sweatshirts, put on the full armor of God thing, and just for us 4, and that was it. But I didn't agree with what they were doing in court. They were supposed to be the experts, and I'm not trying to brag because I didn't get what would exactly happen in court, right? But I knew they were wrong. And a lot of that goes back to, listening to you, Tim, and other, people. And I seriously, I was the only one right about when it came to court stuff. That's not going to work. I mean, you guys shouldn't be doing it. They would just
fire it off anyway, huh?
Yeah, they would.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was, I could go into all kinds of stories, but anyway, I got to the point where basically I called Tim out. Now, Tim's kind of like David Straight. He takes a little bit of truth and then runs a big story with it and gets people to believe it. He had like 31,000 followers at one point. I called him out on some stuff and basically just told him, I didn't really call him out. Tim, I need some verification here if you want me to stand behind this stuff, because I can't verify it and I'm not going to stand behind a lie. And that was the big falling out. He had a court case with, and now if you watch some of David Straight's videos, I don't know if it's the Arkansas one or the Arizona one. I believe it's the Arizona one. But
Yeah,
I
that's
was
the one I keep
listening.
seeing. I think that's the one that we started with. We started watching the Arizona one, the Arizona deal he was doing there.
Okay, it's either Arizona or Arkansas, but I had contacted Don Shipley, who's a retired Navy SEAL and goes around and busts these stolen valor people. You know, they claim to be
Oh, nice.
medal winners and all that. He
Sure.
did a background check with the Department of Defense. His brother is a retired Secret Service agent, and David Strait, or any aliases even close, has never been a Navy SEAL. He lied about that.
That's really bad.
Yeah, he also claimed to be a like he was with the sheriff's department. That's a lie. I did a background check. I did a very thorough background check on the guy.
So any of this
And
court stuff, any of these big court hot dogs, and all this stuff, this grandstanding he's talking about, that went in there and said 1, 2, 3, and everybody said okay. I mean, is there any record of any of that, or is it just in his head? You think?
No, there isn't. And I'll tell you personally, if you listen to the right video, you're going to hear him talk about Timothy's case, and Kirk Pendergrass and a woman named Randy Erickson. I wrote down, when I was listening to those videos, I hand wrote down 2 pages of lies that he said during that video. And that's because I was there. I mean, I was physically there seeing it, and I know it's a lie. And some of this stuff where David says he was there, he wasn't even there.
Wow.
And yeah, so
because
I mean,
you were part of that group. Wow. This is, man, I should have just said we should have had a chat interview. My goodness, I didn't know it was this. I didn't know it was like this.
Yeah,
you've been around, my friend.
And what ended up happening, Tim had three criminal violations. I think it was a violation of a restraining order, and that was against a female attorney in Florida. And Field McConnell, I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, but he got a group of about 70 people. We all got together the weekend before Timothy's last case. Now, David never even showed up. Kirk Pendergrass was there. And it ended up where Timothy and Randy split. They never showed up for court the following Monday. And that was in, I think, the August of 2019. And there's still 3 warrants for his arrest. And I don't think he's really been back in the state since then. So none of that worked for him.
Well, clearly not. Yeah. Wow. Well, I can tell you it didn't work for Kayla either. And bless her heart.
No.
And I mean, she's a believer. She's a Hebrew. She's the real deal, man. And I'm just, I mean.
And I personally know, I know two other people personally that were trying David Strait's stuff and ended up getting charged with felonies. They got out of them because they changed their tune. But there's the one, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Neely Blanchard or Chris Hallett.
No.
Chris Hallett was murdered in Florida by Neely.
Oh, no. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, Kirk and David, not David so much. I know they were still working together, but Kirk actually was at Neely's place in Florida for about a month helping her. And I know that because he left from the hotel here to go there, and he was actually using my work van as a vehicle while he was staying around here. But yeah, so I mean, they were, I mean, in with all. I'm not saying they had anything to do with it, but they were following, or Neely was following their stuff, and she ended up murdering somebody.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's their fault, but it's all tied in together.
Wow. So she got into just things accelerated, it sounds like, and just got to that point.
The last I actually spoke to her mother not long after it happened, and Neely told her, this is what her mother told me, that she said she was on the way to Chris Hallett's place that night that she did it, And she said, I'm not going to let him hurt kids anymore. And that was the last thing she heard from her daughter before Chris got murdered.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So yes, be careful who you take to heart with their advice.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Wow. Anybody else got anything? Anybody else got any bullet wounds from this guy? I hope not. I hope nobody else in our group has. Or we can gossip a little bit. It's okay. It's for the purpose of public safety. And more importantly, it's so that nobody confuses us with them. You know, the big thing is that there's a huge prejudice in this country right now with people that have knowledge. And Chad, if you want to come back in, you can start anytime. But there is, and you know, people want to keep people stupid so that they'll just continue to do the right thing. I mean, think about. I'll say this. You know, I was a landscaping contractor for a lot of years, and I could not understand how I could show up and do a $40,000 job in 2 days and pay out 5 guys $200 a day or $100 a day for work. You know, when you look at that in retrospect as to what was made on the job, and then let's just say 30% or 20% was materials, because mostly it's labor when you're doing that sort of stuff. Okay, so it really was the labor of these guys that did that work, and not only for me, but they do it for everybody else too. But why are they there, and why am I here? Because I know more than they do. Not only do I know how to do what they're doing, but I know how to do everything else. And that knowledge is kept from those people. Here in San Antonio, Common Core is taught only on the blue collar side of town, or the west and south side of town. That's it. The other school districts do regular school. So what does that tell you? It says that they've got an agenda, doing something, okay? And so I'm going to tell you my opinion of David Straight. I listened to him. I'm listening to his background. It sounds to me, and maybe, and I probably can be corrected if I'm wrong, so please do. But it sounds to me as if he is a Mormon that came from Utah, that knows some pretty high-ranking Masons, but he's not allowed to say that. And they've told him a few things, and he's learned a few things maybe. But now he's out on his own with no protection. And I'm going to tell you, when you leave Yah behind, when you leave our Creator behind you, you say, you know what? I got this. We're good. Okay? When you do that in your life, you broke covenant. You broke your covenant with him. Because now that relationship is not there. You're not serving him like you were before. You're not doing the things you weren't as, I mean, it's common. It's how people act. You know what I mean? When we need something, believe me, our voice, everything changes. Okay. And then when we don't need something, believe me, our voices change. I think we can all agree on that. And you know what? Our actions change too. So when we decide that we've got this figured out, and we're not humble enough to say, you know what, Yahweh, I still need you. I still need you every day. Yep, I might have gone in here and whipped this court case, but whoopee-doo, I still need you. When I'm going to tell you, we last month we lost Jordan Maxwell. And I know a little bit about Jordan Maxwell. And we'll talk about him at some point. Not necessarily as a false teacher, but as a teacher that took the wrong path. He took the path of the knowledge of good and evil over the path of serving our Elohim, our Creator. And when you do that, you step away from his cover. And a lot of bad things happen to that man. He just died last month on the 23rd. I think I posted it. A lot of bad things happened to him. And it's because he wasn't able to protect himself. And he wasn't even able to recover. Somebody stole his entire whatever that he built. You know, the Jordan Maxwell collection, stole it. It's gone. It's overseas. Some dude tricked him out of everything. But you know what? If you're walking with Yah and he was standing over your shoulder, and he said, "Hey, don't do that. That's a bad idea." If you were walking with him, you'd hear that, and you'd hear that warning. And if we were obeying him, and if he was obeying him, then you know what? He'd bail him out. He would show him the right way. He would give him the grace to get through it, because that's how our faith works. And when we abandon that faith, which is what all of these gurus do at the end of the day, what time is it here? All these gurus at the end of the day, they take their own glory. They take their own, look how good I am, look how smart I am. And I'm going to tell you, there's a little bit of envy that always happens when a teacher comes into a room and he can teach enough things and he can blow somebody's mind. But it's one thing to blow their mind, but it's a whole other thing to give them something of real substance that works. No matter what you do, it works. And as we've heard, I think this man had good intentions. I think he was looking for something, right? And why? Of course. Look at his background. Look at where he came from. And I learned this process from the Mormons. I'm not going to lie. I learned it from the Mormons. Now, here's what I didn't know. Later on, I found out that that's kind of where all the Masons hang out at. I've heard that's a pretty big deal up there for them. So, okay. Well, now that kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? Now that kind of completes the circle. So, you guys, we've got to do things that matter. Some of us are not spring chickens anymore, okay? Some of us have been swinging this bat our whole lives and never hit a home run. This is your time. This is your time to get close. And how do you get close? Because you want to? No. Humility. How do you get it? You get on the path and you get there. How do you go to 7-Eleven? You get on the path and you get there. How do you get that humility? You ask for it. And when he doesn't give it to you fast enough, you beg for it. And when that doesn't come fast enough, you ask yourself, what else can I do for you? And you still beg for it. And he'll give it to you. Because he gave it to me. I learned this process because I serve a mighty God. I serve a God that has no excuses. He has no deadlines. He has no expiration dates. He's never changed his covenant. He loves me. And he loves you too. All of you. Tonight's call, and the purpose of this call, is to show you there's only one righteous path. You hear me, ladies and gentlemen? There's one righteous path. There's a lot of ways to do things, but there's only one righteous path. And when we think that we can put dishonor into anything we do and get something good out of it, that includes your marriage, that includes your personal relationships, that includes this too, and you think you're going to get something positive out of it, you're nuts. You're nuts. You're cuckoo. You should go to the bathroom and slap yourself. I know because I've had to do it to myself many times. You cannot put dishonor into a court case and expect something to get honor out of it. You cannot walk into a courtroom and disrupt their commerce and disrupt their little hustle and expect something good to come out of it. Because who are you? Ask yourself that. Who are you? And by what authority did you walk onto that ship? You don't have any. You're not even supposed to be there. You're a person, remember? I mean, you're a living being. You're not even supposed to be there. So that should tell you right now, if there's anybody out there telling you to go into a courtroom and go make an ass of yourself and go double down like that, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. And you're talking to somebody that's done it. You're talking to somebody that's seen it happen. I've seen people walk in and try to do the right thing, but it was too late. So we have to learn to speak. We have to learn to make presentments. We have to learn to make real contracts, witnessed contracts. One of the things I'm going to tell you that that David teaches, and a lot of these teachers will teach, is they're going to tell you this, the four corner rule, which the four corner rule is right. But this whole nonsense about putting stamps on things and writing your initials and canceling them because you're the post office now when you went and bought them at the post office is completely stupid. You guys hear me? Please tell your friends and your neighbors. If they hear that, run. Run the other way. Turn off the radio. Turn off your internet. Go hug your wife, please. Go argue with your wife. At least you might get something done. You won't get deceived. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on the wife. But I'm just saying, your chances are better. You know what? This guy, thank Yah for what he's done. Because if you were to hear my videos back in 2017, y'all would have heard at least 44 four-letter words by now. And it's Yah that keeps this under control, not me. So this is evidence. But I'm telling you, when you've got some that wants to go in there and tell you to do all this, yeah, and he's telling you to do this stuff, and he's not willing to take any responsibility, and he's not willing to come up there and take the hit for you or even talk to you anymore, you got a false teacher on your hands. You just cornered him or her. Yeah, we're going to be talking about some hers out there. There's some hers out there, most definitely. But I can tell you tonight, because I know every person that's on this call right now, every single person I know is here. And there's not one sovereign citizen in this room on this call right now. And if you are a sovereign citizen and you happen to be listening to this, please go listen to somebody else. Because everything I'm going to say, you're going to hate it. And everything anybody else says on this call, you're also going to hate it. You're not going to agree with it. Okay? And, we like to keep our cars. We like to not get tased and pulled out of our cars. We don't like to be thrown in jail for just nothing and sit in there for 6 months and have your whole life turned upside down. For what? For what? So you can show everybody how smart you are? Derek Gonzalez, I'm sorry, did that slip? So you can show somebody how smart you are? You're not smart. You're an idiot. You're a clown. People are laughing at you. I'm laughing at you. And I just want people to know that nobody on this group and nobody that's in my group, period, that's not here tonight, is part of that. We've learned our lesson. We're all looking for truth. And just because one of these little just ran by the cuckoo's nest and we happen to make contact with them doesn't mean that we're in cahoots with them. Absolutely not. But, Yah has given us a spirit of discernment. And like I said, when you step away from that and you step away from that discernment, you step away from his cover. And you don't know what the F you're doing. You hear me, David Strait? You don't know what you're doing, buddy. And you need to stop. Because if you don't, they're going to make you stop. Yep. It's going to happen. You mark my words. And you can mark probably everybody else's words that's on this call too. Because the reality is that actually, he says it perfectly himself. This is one little gold nugget that you could get out of there, is that fraud is something that never lasts forever. At some point, the wheels fall off the fraud. It stops being a vehicle. It doesn't move anymore, right? I mean, we heard tonight that, I just don't trust the guy. I don't believe the guy. What he says is absolutely not true. Well, you know what that means? That means that vehicle is not moving anymore. That means it's over. And it's time to be over. You know what? We need a lot of truth. And the word says that in the end times, ladies and gentlemen, we are in those times right now. Okay? There's going to be an explosion of knowledge. And that's why all of you are here today. You're here as a result of that explosion of knowledge. And where there is a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of deception. I think that, in closing, I think that Christian churches and Muslim churches, they're kind of like bridges, I guess, if you could visualize that, okay? And imagine Yahuwah or Yahweh being on the other side, our Elohim. He's on the other side, okay? Like the banks versus the treasury, Okay? Think of it like that. And these churches, whether they be Muslim, whether they be whatever they are, okay? Non-denominational, whatever they want to call themselves, okay? Which the word denominate means to divide, by the way. Kind of counterproductive if you're trying to bring people together, just saying. But these people act, and I mean, and the Catholics will just tell you straight up, we talk to God, you talk to us, we talk to God. I mean, that's kind of how that relationship is. And it's like people get camped out on that bridge and they just can't get past it. They just can't get past all the glitter and the smoke and all the stuff that these TV preachers do. But I'm telling you, man, it's not just the TV preachers. Tonight, David Straight, he's one of them. This dude is clearly a cuckoo bird. He's got a little bit of knowledge. But I'm going to tell you, knowledge without wisdom is useless. It's worthless. It's a Lamborghini in Dubai stuck in a parking lot somewhere that nobody wants. It's got 5 years of dust on it. It's useless. It had value. It had use. But today it's useless. If you want value in your life, you can get that today. If you feel like you've been slipping a little bit, you can get back on track today. And I told you exactly how to do it. Don't follow David Straight. That's the short story. But here's the real story. Follow our Creator. The word says, those who seek me, they're going to find you. You're going to find him. I did. And I sought him, and I sought him, and I sought him. And if you're as mighty as you say you are, you could talk to me tonight. I believed in that, and I said that. And I stuck my face in the carpet, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried until he came. And you know what, guys? It's been downhill ever since. I've had my bumps in the road. I've had my problems. But you know what? I'm still here. And not one person has ever attacked my reputation and been successful at it. Not one person has walked up and said, you know what? That stuff doesn't work. Not one person. Now, the ones that have done, let me rephrase that. There have been some people that have walked up and said that it didn't work. Well, of course it didn't work. They didn't pay attention. Or they didn't do all the processes. Or they mixed my processes with some other cuckoo bird's processes. Why? Well, because it sounded really good. It was just like really flavoring. We were drinking that Sovereign Citizen moonshine. They were going to ride it. And off they go. Their underwear on their head. And then I get hooked into all this. You know, I get people all the time that'll tell me, you know, I'm interested in that class that teaches da-da-da-da-da and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't teach that. And I don't teach that in my class either. What are you talking about? Oh, you know, you were saying this and this and this. And I'm like, man, this dude's really on it. And it happens. I used to get a call about once a month. Well, things are going to change. Things are going to change because we're going to put goodness in what we do. I'm still the director of this House of Yah Community Outreach. We're a registered nonprofit, and we're here to serve the public. And we're going to do that in our capacity. Tonight, we're doing it in the capacity, and we're doing it in accordance to the word of Yah. And it says to go out into the world and spread the gospel. Today, we're spreading truth. We're spreading real truth today. These aren't rumors. This is firsthand stuff. Now, you guys, anybody calls me up and they want to know how I feel about it, we've got a discussion, and here we are. So, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a wonderful, wonderful evening. I appreciate the input tonight. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add? This is the time to do it. Go ahead. You got one caller? Go ahead. I can't hear you. I'm going to mute you and then unmute you and see if it brings you back, okay? So hold on. All right. Are we there? Hello. I'm trying to bring you back. You got nothing above your head over here. I don't know what happened. Let's get on your participant control. Let's see. All right. There you are. I heard something.
I just want to say thank you, Francisca.
Oh, it's so good to hear your voice. And I love the pictures of all the food you put up on Facebook.
Yeah, we're parked right in front of the ocean listening to your call. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in tonight. I appreciate the call tonight. Thank you.
Here's my husband. I just want to say thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
No worries.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody else's support tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to close in prayer. Okay? I didn't open in prayer, and I should have. And for that, I seek God's forgiveness, and I seek your forgiveness too. So, and in the spirit of goodness, we're going to go ahead and close in prayer. Father in heaven, I just thank you for all that you do. I thank you for this opportunity to serve you, to know you, and to know that if I call your name, you're going to be here because you love me. And I thank you, Yah, for all that you've done in the hearts of the people that are here tonight, Father, and I pray that you just bless their hearts. I pray that if this man has hurt anybody, Father, we just lift him up to you today, Father, and I pray for a miraculous healing to take place in their heart. They didn't know. I lift up Kayla tonight, Father, and she's not out of the woods yet, but I lift her up tonight, and I just pray that you bless her and that she be just exonerated through all of this. She just did not know who she was listening to, Father, and I just pray with all that we have that you just bless her and you just be with her, Father, and somehow make that thing right for her, make all that right for her. Father, I just lift up all of our enemies tonight, every enemy that's after anybody that's here on this call tonight and anybody that's listening. I lift up those enemies to you today, Father. We lift them up to you in accordance to your word because it says that's what we're supposed to do. And we pray for them tonight, Father. We pray for them, and we pray that you would soften their hearts, Father, and you would show them goodness, you would show them truth, and you would show them the fruits of being honest and the fruits of wisdom, Father, that you offer, Father. We praise you, Father, in all that you do, Father. And we just see you next week. We're going to see you in everything that we do, Father, as we proclaim your name and tell your truth today, Father. We bless you in all things, Father. Shalom, shalom, Father. Thank you all, everyone, for being here tonight. And, Passover is coming up this month. I encourage you guys to observe Passover. It's not a feast day, but it is a worship day. And because, we don't have a temple or anything. But take that time and give him that time this week because he deserves it. And you know what? You deserve something good to happen to you. And I think that just goes a long way anyway. So with all things being said, we're going to close tonight's call. I wish you all the absolute very best. And I pray that Yah will bless your home, bless the folks around you, and most importantly, those enemies of ours. We're going to bless those too. We thank you guys, and thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next week. We are going to be talking about, I'm not sure who I'm going to talk about next week, but you know what? I'll post it as soon as I have picked a name out of the hat. Let's do that. Anyway, we'll see you guys next Monday night, 6 p.m. Yahweh bless every one of you guys. Good night.